What we're going to do is we're going to look at solving exponentials again with logarithms. These problems are just slightly more difficult, and we're going to get into the number e. So for the first one, our whole goal is to get the base number by itself. So I'm going to add 5 on both sides, and I get 4 times 2 to the 4x equals 20. I divide it by 4, and I get 2 to the 4x is equal to 5. Now, this is when we use logs. Remember, the bases are not the same. If the bases were the same, we could use exponents to solve it. Since the bases are not, what we do is we use the log base 2. Now, when we do the log base 2, the two numbers cancel. They become 1. And so what we have is 4x equals, I'm going to use change of base formula, log of 5 divided by log of 2. And that right there gives me 2.32. Then I divide it by 4, and I get x is equal to 0.58. So for letter B, I'm going to do the same thing. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the 11. And I have negative 1/2. And then what we have is 2x minus 1 equals negative 14. Because they're both negative, I divide by negative 1. And what I have to do is I have to get rid of the 1/2. So I'm going to do log base 1/2. I do that on both sides of the equation. And so the 1/2s cancel, and I'm left with the exponent, which is 2x minus 1. I use change of base formula, log of 14 divided by log of 1/2. And log of 14 divided by log of 1/2 is negative 3.81. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1. So that gives me 2x is equal to negative 2.81. Then I'm going to divide it by 2, and I get x is equal to negative 1.40. So in the same way, looking at the next one, what I want to do is get the base number by itself. In this case, the base number is e. So I'm going to add the 6. And that right there gives me 5e to the 3 minus 5x is equal to 125. I divide it by 5. And I get e to 3 minus 5x is equal to 25. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do natural log, because natural log is log base e. I do that on both sides. That gives me 3 minus 5x is equal to, and then the natural log of 25 is 3.22. I subtract the 3, so negative 5x is equal to 0.22. I divide it by negative 5. And so x is equal to negative 0.04. Let's look at 3 more. So letter D, once again, I'm going to do the same step. I'm going to get the base by itself. This right here is my base number. So I'm going to add the 6. That gives me negative 2 times 6 to the x is equal to negative 6. I divide by negative 2. And I get 6 to the x equals 3. What I have to do is get rid of the 6. So I do log base 6. Log base 6 on both sides. Cancels. I get the x by itself. Change of base formula. Log of 3 divided by log of 6. And that right there gives me 0.61. So for letter E, I'm going to do the same thing. I want to get the base by itself. In this case, the base is e. So I'm looking at the number e. I want to get that by itself, so I subtract the 4. I get negative e to the 4 minus x is equal to negative 6. I multiply each side by negative 1 or divide it by negative 1, however you prefer. In order to get rid of the e, I do a natural log on both sides. That cancels. I get 4 minus x is equal to, and then the natural log of 6 is 1.79. I subtract the 4, so negative x is equal to negative 2.21, and then when I change it, I get 2.21. So looking at letter F, I'm going to do the same thing. I want to get the base number by itself. In this case, the base number is 4/5. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract the 9. That gives me 6 times 4/5 raised to the 5x minus 2 is equal to 14. I'm going to divide by 6, once again trying to get the base number by itself. So what I have is 4/5 raised to the 5x minus 2. That reduces to 7/3. Now what I need to do is get the base number by itself. Sorry, I got the base number by itself. Now I need to get rid of the base number by doing the log of that base number. And I do that on both sides. So the numbers cancel. I get 5x minus 2. I use change of base formula, log of 7/3 divided by log of 4/5. So that right there, change of base formula, gives me negative 3.80. I'm going to add 2. That gives me 5x is equal to negative 1.80. I divide it by 5, and I get x is equal to negative 0.36.